Stakeholders don't need a technical journey. They want the bottom line first. Let's give them the presentations they expect. This might seem backwards, but it really works. With presentations for stakeholders, start with the conclusion and provide details only if needed. The headline should come first. This is the big picture or the bottom line. Cover whether the project's on schedule or not, and any important decisions at the very beginning of your presentation. Make this quick, definitely under a minute. Then you can get into the context, like why it matters, the risks or benefits, and any possible consequences that are involved. Try to cover this in less than 2 minutes. After that, give them the options that are on the table and tell them what you think should happen. Try to keep this part under 2 minutes too. One's even better. You always want to be prepared to give information about the technical details, but you only really need to answer the specific questions people ask when you open Q&A at the end of your presentation. This is the inverted pyramid approach. Get everything out there in less than 5 minutes, then open the floor to questions. Most engineers start with the details and wait until the end to let the stakeholders know why they're really there. But stakeholders are decision makers, not students. When they get the conclusion first, they can decide whether to dig deeper or just take your recommendation. It's really common for an engineer to have a 10-minute slot with the executive board and start off with, "Good morning. Today I'll walk you through our electrical infrastructure upgrade. As you see in the single line diagram, we're installing a 2000 amp service." 3 minutes in, they're explaining underground conduit methodology. 5 minutes, they're covering load calculations. Everybody's looking at the door at this point. Starting with technical details instead of business impact loses people fast, and using language like "as you see in the diagram" makes it even worse. By the time you get to "we're on schedule" and coming in under budget, everybody's checking their phone. Here's the same update structured with the inverted pyramid, quick and focused on the big picture. The headline gives everybody the main idea. Everybody knows why this meeting's happening in the first 15 seconds. Then we can get into a little more detail. Not much, just the main points. Now, they understand what's been accomplished and why it matters. After that, it's a good time to give some information about the value of what we're doing. The overview of the technical work framed as business benefits. We're not given technical specs or details, just what they actually care about. Finish up by going over the next steps or recommendations about how to move forward. Then, ask if anybody has any questions. You want to be prepared to answer questions about the technical details in the Q&A, but you only need to answer the technical questions people ask about. All the important info is already out there really quick, and nobody's asleep. This leaves plenty of time for questions and discussion. Everybody ends up with exactly the information they need when they walk out the door. No more and no less. This is the way. So, what changed between these two approaches? We started with the conclusions, so there's never a mystery about the project status. We use business language instead of technical specs and equipment model numbers. Saying 40% more capacity instead of 2000 amp service transforms the technical data into something stakeholders can understand and use. And we have the technical details ready for Q&A in our back pocket, but we aren't starting with them. The technical work isn't hidden. It's transformed into words that a non-technical person can understand. If somebody asks about underground methodology, you need to have the answer ready. But start with what they need to understand the big picture and make important decisions. Let's look at an example. We need $40,000 to update fire suppression because we're working with an old building and the codes have changed since it was built. This was not in the original scope of the project, and passing inspection depends on this. So, we're going to start with the big picture. We discovered a new code requirement during our recent walkthrough, and I need to request $40,000 for electrical room fire suppression. Without it, we can't pass final inspection. The ask is clear immediately. The amount, the reason, and the consequence are all really clear. The building was grandfathered in under 1985 codes, and our new installation means we need to meet today's code requirements. This explains exactly what happened without blaming anybody. Just the facts about code changes, not who missed what. Then we'll lay out our two options to move forward. Both options are presented clearly with their trade offs. And we'll end with the next steps. Given the specific deadline, which option we think is the best way forward, and a specific amount of money that we need. Then we can open up the Q&A. This approach makes the executive's job easier, not harder. We don't want to start with the technical details, use technical language without putting it into context, or start with too much information. What we do want to do is make sure we end with a clear ask or a conclusion. These are some really useful phrases to use in your presentations to signal professionalism and respect for stakeholder time. Since we aren't starting with the technical details, we need to be prepared to answer questions about them in the Q&A at the end. Sometimes these questions can be really tough. It's okay to say, "I don't know, I'll get back with you." Nobody knows everything, and nobody's expected to. Do make sure you actually find the answer and report back later, though. Sometimes we have to redirect really technical questions until after the meeting if it's something only one or two people in the audience might understand. This keeps the meeting on track and doesn't lose the rest of the audience. It's really important to take ownership of issues without becoming defensive or blaming other people, too. And a good way to buy time to think is to ask the person to clarify their question. Questions aren't attacks, they're opportunities to demonstrate expertise and build trust. Take a minute and look at this scenario and prepare an inverted pyramid style presentation for your stakeholders. Pause the video while you think about this. This headline's direct, the context uses understandable language, and the recommendation's clear. This is a really effective way to organize a presentation. There's going to be plenty of time left for Q&A, and everybody's going to leave with all the information they need. When stakeholders understand your message clearly, they make better decisions. And when they make better decisions based on your presentations, you become the engineer they turn to when it matters the most. In the next video, we'll look at a method we can use to present any workplace scenario to any audience. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.